Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BNR. Well. It's been an interesting start to the morning day, and it's been an interesting 24 hours in the world of transfers when you look at what's happening and the impact it has on Liverpool Football Club. We wake up, we hear news regarding David Ornstein. He's tweeted about Liverpool regarding their number 9 targets. And I think over the last 45 minutes, we've heard that Liverpool have rejected a bid for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. Where do we probably start with the breaking news regarding Luis Diaz. But before I do that, guys, first and foremost, do like the stream and definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Secondly, if you do want to become a BNR Ultra member, there is an option for you to join, become a member with loads of exclusive content coming your way, especially in the next couple of weeks. So let's start off with Luis Diaz and the news that broke regarding a bid. I'm gonna put up the tweet which was put up, and big up to the Anfield sector and Josh and all the guys over there. Breaking news: Bayern Munich have submitted a formal proposal to sign winger Luis Diaz from Liverpool. It is worth 67.5 million euros, which equates to 58.6 million pounds, and immediately rejected by the Premier League champions. So, yes, here we are. A bid has been rejected for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. And if I'm to be fair, I think we were all expecting a bid to come in from Bayern Munich for his services. I think Luis Diaz over the last couple of weeks has made it pretty clear that he wants to move from Liverpool Football Club if he is not being given a new contract extension. If I'm, in terms of the actual fee, let's try and break it down and speak about the fee. There was no way Liverpool were going to accept any 58.6 million pounds for Luis Diaz. We've made it categorically clear to anybody wanting to try and come in for Luis Diaz that he's not for sale. We've maintained this stance now for a good few weeks. Barcelona have tried. Obviously, their bid was nowhere near anyway. And even when Bayern Munich made their first approach, I think about a week ago, it was rejected. So it's interesting that Liverpool are rejecting offers for Luis Diaz. Look, we have to see it from two different angles now, where obviously with Darwin Núñez looking likely that he's probably going to be leaving the football club. There's news regarding him, leaving for Al Hilal. And then you got to look at, okay, obviously, Luis Diaz, he's made it practically clear that he wants out. And I've always believed and I've always maintained that there is a price for Luis Diaz this summer. If a bid was to come in around the 75 million pound mark, I think Luis Diaz is a goner, and Liverpool would definitely be in the market for a winger. With no real contract on the contract extension on the horizon for Diaz, it makes complete sense that Liverpool hold the cards. He's got 2 years left on his current contract. We will only sell if we receive the money that we want, number one, and we are able to get a replacement who Liverpool see fit as a good replacement, an able replacement that's able to take Liverpool to the next level, or at least keep him, bring in a replacement that's at least on par with Luis Diaz and how well he did last season. 28 years old, turning 29 soon. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Luis Diaz in the coming week or two. I believe that Bayern Munich will definitely make a play again. It doesn't make sense for them to make this bid and not come in again. They've got their own issues in terms of forwards. They've not been able to bring anyone of note through the door. Obviously, we know that the unfortunate injury to Musiala as well. So they're definitely on the lookout to bring in some forwards. It's interesting that in terms of what Ornstein said, that Liverpool value, and I'm going to put up Cathal's comment. It has not got, and I'll read it out. It has not gone unnoticed at Liverpool that Bayern had 100 million 4 plus for now. LFC player Florian Wirtz, we will need to strengthen further, having lost Jamal Musiala to injury, and that makes complete sense. We know Bayern Munich have the door. They may have not have had the 100 million plus to go and sign a Florian Wirtz, but there's money there for them to spend. They were looking at around the 90 million pound mark, so we know that there's money there, and we will squeeze to receive every single penny we can out of Bayern Munich, especially with their antics that they played over the summer. We're going to make sure that we receive the door. In terms of Luis Diaz, it's interesting because how this will play out. Obviously, we know that there is Saudi interest in the player, and we know that obviously with the Saudi interest that there are going to be. Bear with me one. Apologies for that, guys. There is real concrete interest in the player, so I'm looking forward, and I'm looking to see where this sort of is going to go, where this will lead in regarding Luis Diaz. Question to the panel. Obviously, we've rejected this bid of 58 million pounds. What fee do Liverpool accept for Luis Diaz this summer? I know they're wanting 100 million euros. We probably won't get that. But in terms of Diaz, if a bid was to come in, I'm talking pounds here, what fee are we talking GBP gets the deal done where Luis Diaz gets his move and Liverpool get the money that they want for this player? Let me just bring up some comments. Rumi goes 65 million. Rosa goes 70 million GBP. Farouk 80 million. Nifsa says 80. Promo goes 65 to 70. Al Brazi 72 to 75. Gerard 75 million. Amar goes 70 million and it gets done. I think most of us 75, 70, 75. A lot of people, around that sort of amount. And I think 70 million pounds, if it's pounds, that makes complete sense in terms of that deal. That Liverpool, I think, will accept a deal around the 70 million pounds. Anything above that, I think it's a bonus for the 28-year-old who wants to leave the football club, who isn't on the highest of wages. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. But I think I'm probably on the same sort of ballpark figure. I don't want Liverpool to sell for any less. We're in control for once. We've been stung with other players in the past. Obviously, we know what's happening with Ibu Konate's contract. Where we control the player, it's important that we control the fee. We don't let player power completely take over. We have to show our might. We have to show that, if a player wants to leave the football club, we're gonna try and make it on our terms and not on the player. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and yeah, I think a 70 million pound. I think a lot of people are saying 70. If it was 80 million, guys, I think Liverpool will have done unbelievably well if we managed to bring in 80 million. I'd be very surprised if it is. But Ganto goes wait for Saudi to give 85 million. I think the Saudi bid will come. I think for Luis Diaz the bid will come. I'd be surprised if a bid doesn't come in from that area. But I think Luis Diaz probably wants to stay in Europe, and especially if it's Bayern Munich, he's playing for the champions of Germany, a team generally in the biggest club in Germany. Bayern Munich tend to do well in the Champions League, so he'll have a decent crack at the UCL in the coming few years. And then if he wants to move to Saudi, maybe he can do in a year or two down if the interest is still there. But ideally, I think this is where the deal will sort of. This is where it'll be. It will probably be Bayern Munich first option if they're willing to pay the door, and we will use the Saudi bid as a marker for when it comes to negotiations for the fee of Luis Diaz. I'll be honest, I don't really want him to leave. We're already struggling in the forward line. Obviously, with Darwin Núñez potentially leaving the football club, and obviously the unfortunate circumstances of Jota, that leaves us really short in the forward. And I know we've brought in Florian Wirtz to play in the 10, and he can do a role in the false 9, maybe a bit from the left-hand side. But Liverpool have to be really active in the transfer market should a bid for Luis Diaz get accepted. And it'll be interesting to see who we go for. I've always maintained, guys, that I think Anthony Gordon is probably going to be the replacement. However, There's murmurings about Rodrygo, and that if Rodrygo is the player that we want, if Luis Diaz was to leave, then I'm all in for the signing of Rodrygo, especially coming in from the left hand side. He's not really played in his favoured position. Coming in, he's always played from the right. Whenever he has played on the left hand side, I saw his stats, and I'm sure I spoke about it about 4 or 5 days ago. 12 appearances on the left for Rodrygo, and he's got 6 goals, 6 assists. That's really, really good output. A goal and a 6 every game is definitely the output that Liverpool should be looking for. Whether we can make a deal for Rodrygo happen this summer, I don't know. But I think it'll be interesting to see how the left-sided player Sale happens. And I think Anthony Gordon is definitely one that Liverpool, we want, Liverpool want, I want. I know there'll be people in the comment that probably be like, "Oh, he's probably not the player that we want." But it'll be interesting to see what happens. If I had the choice of bringing in 2 players this summer, it would definitely be Rodrygo and obviously Alexander Isak in the forward position. That would be some statement from Liverpool Football Club if we go really hard in the transfer market over the next 6 weeks, and we make a real statement. That is a statement where you sell Luis Diaz for the money that you want, and then you go all in for the signing of Alexander Isak. And look, I'll move on to Alexander Isak because obviously there's been a lot of noise this morning. And on obviously the main title today was the David Ornstein news regarding Alexander Isak, and I'll pull up David Ornstein's tweet regarding and his article, and we'll go through it. We'll try and dissect it as well at the same time. And yeah, guys, his David Ornstein this morning reported from The Athletic that Liverpool's focus in market after early additions in other position is a top striker. Wide roads filled, plus Darwin Núñez move expected progress again soon. So Liverpool's priority now, number 9 Isak, forward slash Ekatike interest well documented, and will be more options. Okay, guys, we have to try and dissect the actual move for Alexander Isak. If you all said to me 2 weeks ago that Newcastle are going to make a play for Ekatike, if we were told that, if you asked me, that was Isak goner then. If Ekatike, when you're playing 80 million pounds or 80 million euros for a player, for a striker to come in 2 weeks ago, you would have said to me that, you know what, Isak's on the market and he's probably a player that Liverpool will play and make a move for. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen narratives change from Isak is not for sale, they might be for sale. We'll have to wait and see what happens. They've gone in for João Pedro, obviously went to Chelsea, Ekatike now. And it's interesting to see how this will pan out over the next few days, because there's a massive 24, 48 hours coming up regarding Ekatike. And I want to try and break it down and look at it from a Liverpool perspective. Liverpool is looking very likely that Darwin Núñez will leave this football club, number 1. Number 2, obviously, with the unfortunate circumstances that, with happening with Diogo Jota, Liverpool now will not have a recognized 9, right? And if your number 1 target is Alexander Isak and your number 2 target is Ekatike, I just find it unbelievably baffling that Liverpool will have not made a move for Ekatike and Alexander Isak, knowing full well that your number 1 target is going to stay at Newcastle. If that was the case, we would have 100% made a play for Ekatike. And going by Ornstein's reports, that it's Isak, Ekatike interest. It's always been these 2 names really that we've seen. We saw links to a Mateta, other players have come in, the Seskos and the other players, but I believe it's always been these 2. And I just simply can't believe that Liverpool would not make a move for Alexander Isak or Ekatike if Alexander Isak was not gettable. So if we are allowing Newcastle to make a move for Ekatike, it only, if you ask me, and they can come up with the bullshit that they're going to play 2 up front and have Gordon and have Elanga and Harvey Barnes and all these players, I simply don't buy the fact that these two will be leading the line for Newcastle next season without them selling a player. And I think Liverpool would not allow Ekatike to just go to Newcastle without making a play for him if Alexander Isak was not gettable. We desperately need a 9, and we're not going to allow our second choice to go to Newcastle and have a free run at him. I don't buy that. And it's just interesting because I'll bring up another tweet quote, and it's Lee Ryder. It goes, Ekatike's move for Newcastle's move for Ekatike has alerted Liverpool on 2 counts. Arne Slot remains keen on Isak. The Swedish international is Liverpool's #1 target this summer. Secondly, Ekatike was looked at as backup opinion for the Reds if they could not get Isak. Something yet that may yet spark a response from Anfield. And it's interesting because I think Lee Ryder's from Newcastle. He reports pretty much on Newcastle. And it's interesting to see how this will pan out now, because if we don't want Ekatike, we definitely want Alexander Isak. And if we allow Newcastle to get Ekatike, then it only points out that Liverpool are going to make a all-out play for Alexander Isak. Hence the reason this deal now that's been taking place over the next 24 hours. If Liverpool do make a play for Ekatike, then fine. I get it. He's our second choice. We know Isak isn't available, and Ekatike is the player that where Liverpool are going to go all in and try and sign this player. So it's going to be an interesting 24 to 48 hours. Or we've probably turned around and said it to Newcastle. And if Isak wants to leave, then you know what? Maybe you can have a free run at him. But if you have a free run at him, we're going to come for your prized asset. And people have mentioned that, you know what, they can get the 2 players and they might even sell us Anthony Gordon this summer. And then maybe in a year's time, an Isak will come. I don't buy that. I think Liverpool genuinely want their #1 target, even more so with Darwin and obviously Jota not being there now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I think Liverpool will make a strong case, and we will go all in Isak. And I genuinely believe that in the next week or two, in the next few days, sorry, not week or two, in the next few days, we will see murmurings come out. And I think Newcastle are probably going and spending a bit, they can look. The Newcastle fans have come onto my Twitter, and I tweeted what I just said now to you guys. Oh, we're going to play both. You're going to sign this, mate. You're Newcastle Football Club. You're not Liverpool. Yeah, you're the big football club in the north. You've won 1 trophy in 70 years. Understand your lane. I understand you've got huge pockets now. But you're still Newcastle Football Club. You're nowhere near Liverpool. We will do as we want. And if we really want Alexander Isak and we're willing to go all out, we prove that with the signing of Florian Wirtz, that if we want a player and we go toe-to-toe, we're willing to pay the money to bring in a player. And if a number 9 if we want a top target and we want the number 9, we will go and spend what it means, what it takes to go and bring in a player of Alexander Isak's ilk. And I think we will make a play 100% for Isak, especially in the next week. And if you don't hear anything about Ekatike in the next couple of days, then we definitely want. Then Isak will definitely. If Liverpool come out and say that fair play, I've got some new. If we do make a play for Ekatike, then fair. I can say to Isak, fair play. You know what? You're probably going to stay at Newcastle. I've got some Newcastle fans coming in here. They will probably tell us they have been for the last couple of days. Like you got Bellingham, mate. You're not Real Madrid. You're Newcastle Football Club. There's a difference. And let's face it, guys. If it's Real Madrid, I get there's players that will probably want to play for them. Newcastle Football Club, big club. I respect you as a football club. I respect your fan base. I've always loved going up to Newcastle, especially when the Liverpool are playing up there. But know your sort of place. You are where you are at. That's who you are. And if we come in and we're ready to go all out and bid for that player, the money that you want, we will get the player. And it'll be interesting to see how that actually pans out. Guys, there's 413 of you in here right now. If you haven't liked, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. And yeah, if you want to become a BNR Ultra, become a BNR Ultra. But I want to ask your thoughts, guys. Look, with this playing out now, what fee Newcastle can demand what they want. I believe if £120 million bid went in for Alexander Isak and came on Newcastle's table, I think Newcastle will 100% consider selling Alexander Isak. If they get Ekatike and 120 million sat on their table, I find it very difficult that Newcastle reject that deal. Quick question to you guys: what fee do you think this deal gets? That okay? Quick, what it gets done at, but what fee do you think? Okay, let's go with this. What fee is expected that what you think it was expected that Liverpool will get? Make a bid when Newcastle have no choice but to accept the deal. Don't come up with 150 because even Newcastle fans deep down know that they're not getting 150 million pound for this player. And if they think that they're getting 150, they're living in cloud cuckoo, mate. Just bear with me 1 second, guys. My charger, I think, battery charge. There you go. Right, I think 130. 130 seems like everybody's. A lot of people are coming up with 130. Get out 130. If Ekatike is 80, Rian goes 150, 140, 150. That's too much. Ganto goes, agree with your valuation. Nifsa 125, Muhammad 130. Liverpool fan forever 120 plus add-ons and Harvey included. 85 again. I think we will do one. I think we do 115, 120. I think look, between the 115 and 130 mark, I genuinely believe I think you're probably looking at breaking the transfer record. So you're probably talking 120 plus for the signing of Isak. Mainly, I think people are looking at around 120, between the 120 and 130 million pound mark, and that's fair. That's, if I'm honest with you, I think that's a fair deal. I think Newcastle will be happy with that deal, around 120, 125. Liverpool were probably happy to pay that sort of money for that sort of fee, and it makes sense. 100 million plus 18 add-ons gets Isak. I think Newcastle will probably want more than 100 million pounds, if I'm honest with you. More stops. I'm spanning the chat, man. I've seen the message. Liverpool are expected to join the race for Rodrygo. Honest, appreciates the player from Santi. I've read it. You don't need to send it a million times. I was going to bring that tweet up, that message up, but we're obviously speaking about Alexander Isak right now, and I think, look, Alexander Isak, we will make a play. I'm 99.9% sure that Liverpool will make a play for Alexander Isak, and we will break the transfer record to bring him in. A lot of it now, I think we will have to wait and see in terms of the domino effect, where Ekatike goes to Newcastle, Liverpool sell Darwin Núñez, Osimhen goes to Napoli, then we sell Darwin, Newcastle sign Ekatike, and then the domino where it comes to Alexander Isak, we will fall into place for this player. And I think that's how I see it playing out. Newcastle fans can come at me all they want, mate. You are not playing. I will be very, very surprised if they sign Ekatike and Isak is still at the football club come 1st of September. I'd be very surprised. You can, copium, say what you want, two up top, all that type of stuff. Simply don't see that happening. Guys, 400 plus in here. Make sure you've liked and subscribed to the channel. Look, for you guys, it's only a click, but for us guys, it goes a long, long way. Especially with the algorithms, we are trying to give you content on a daily basis where we're doing at least 2 shows a day. We're trying our best. We need your help as well at the same time. So let's try and grow this channel together. And big up to everybody in the chat. You've always been brilliant to us, and a massive, massive thank you to everyone. But look, let's go with Rodrygo. Let's talk about Rodrygo a bit, because I think with the Luis Diaz bid coming in, I've always been more of an Anthony Gordon fan, but that doesn't mean I don't want Rodrygo. I would be over the moon if we signed Rodrygo. I was, about a week and a half ago when I looked at Rodrygo's stats, I was probably, and a few times I've seen him play. Yes, he's a good player, but did I think he was elite? Probably not, if I'm honest. But when I looked at his stats on the left-hand side, that's what got me really, really intrigued with Rodrygo, thinking, 12 GAs in 12 games playing on that position made me think, you know what? I like this player, and this player will probably be able to take his game to the next level. Neville, there's certain players that have always played for Real Madrid, not really, um, you know, enhanced or, you know, took it to the next level. They probably need a move from that team, you know, and then to really go to the next level. And Rodrygo is probably one of them that needs a move. You know, he's playing in a position that he doesn't want to play in. He didn't play a game. I don't think he played in any. Started any games at the World Club Cup, and you know, bringing him in, you know, player who's played at the highest level, Brazil international, been there and done it, won trophies at Real Madrid, and him coming to and playing in a position that he wants, that he favors. You know, I think he's 24. Correct me if I'm wrong. Really, really good age. And it makes sense. So I would be all in the Rodrygo train if Liverpool, if there's genuine interest, and I won't see why not. I get, you know, people, you know, he said stuff in the past about Salah and, you know, about Liverpool, blah blah. But look, he wasn't a Liverpool player then. And people say stuff, but we have to see past that. Football is a business. End of the day, if he was to come to Liverpool Football Club, can he improve Liverpool? Can he take us to the next level? He's probably one player that will that I think 99% of you probably will agree is he will probably enhance that left hand side position over Diaz if a player came in. Question to you all: Diaz or Rodrygo? If you had a choice right now that Diaz stays at the football clubs and plays on that left side, or you sign a Rodrygo and Diaz leaves, what would you do? Keep Diaz or sign Rodrygo? Let's see what the chat say, because it'd be interesting to see what the chat think, because I think Diaz had a really, really good season last season, albeit it was probably his best season. And I know a few seasons prior to that, he was decent, not really great. But yeah, look, I think I'm getting a lot of Rodrygo's here. Rodrygo over Diaz. Rehan's the one that says Diaz. Actually, there's a couple of Diaz. Rehan says Diaz. Ali Mudassir says Diaz. The rest of Nifsa says Rodrygo, Razif Shah, Rodrygo, Hazio, Rodrygo, Lauren Rodrygo, Rumi Diaz. Interesting. Look, Ali Mudassir, you've said it 3 or 4 times, man. I only can read your name out only once. Liverpool fan forever, Rodrygo. Hazio, Rodrygo. I think, you know what? I think mainly Rodrygo. Rodrygo over Diaz, although Diaz does have a few favourites in there that they probably want Diaz to stay. If I'm honest, looking at it, if I look at everything, meaning Diaz wants to leave, we received the bid that we want, I'm probably more with the Rodrygo, that, you know what, Rodrygo's probably the player that I would definitely take over Diaz right now if I had a choice in regards to Liverpool accepting a fee and Liverpool being able to bring in a Rodrygo, 24-year-old, playing in his favorite position, and and hopefully will be able to elevate this team to a next sort of level, because he is probably one player that will improve us. And Jono goes, Rodrygo is 24, 4 years younger. Completely agree, mate. That's massive. Diaz 24. There's no sell-on value on him anymore, and it makes sense if Liverpool was to get rid of Diaz if the right bid came in. It looks like it's going to be busy period over the next 6 weeks until this transfer window closes. Liverpool will make a move. It looks like we will be making a move very, very shortly, especially if Ekitike leaves and goes to Newcastle. Then it's going to be interesting, because Ornstein mentioned that Liverpool are prioritizing a top number 9. And if we're talking top number 9, all roads lead to St. James's Park and Liverpool making a play for Alexander Isak. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days. I think, look, on a question to everybody, and I like to get the chat involved as well. How many signings do you guys think Liverpool will make before the season ends? And when I talk about signings, I'm talking about real, players who will make, will fight for the number 1, definitely make the starting 11, or fight definitely like a proper fight for a number for the starting 11. And obviously we know there's news about a Kanate in the background. As we don't know what's happening with the contract situation there. And if Darwin leaves, Diaz leaves, that's 2 forwards minimum you have to bring in. Then you have to look at a Kwanzaa replacement, which is Gay. That's a minimum 3. I think you need to make 4 signings. I genuinely believe that Liverpool will need to make a 3 has to be a bare minimum. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. You bring in a striker, you bring in a Diaz replacement if he leaves. If Diaz stays, then I can get okay. 3 makes sense. You bring in a centre back, you bring in a Darwin replacement, and maybe one more. And if Diaz leaves, then I think 4 is the bare minimum. 3 is the bare minimum. 4 ain't happening. I get in terms of time, we've got players to sell and then to bring in. Is this going to be one time where Liverpool fans are going to be, it always feels like we never really make a signing on deadline day. Is this going to be one time where Liverpool don't have a choice? Liverpool are going to have to go hard even until the final days of the transfer window. I'm not going to lie, it's been a long time where we've enjoyed a deadline day signing. I think Gravenberch was bought a couple of years ago when we signed him pretty close to the deadline day, even though there was a lot of murmurs that we were going to get him. So I think a lot of people are saying 3 as minimum. 3. A lot of people are saying 3. I genuinely believe if we sell Diaz, I think we need 4. But if we don't sell Diaz, then I think 3 suffice. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be really interesting to see who leaves, because there is a lot of business that Liverpool still need to do regarding outgoings. And look, of course, we knew there wasn't going to be any business taking place, especially over the last week, 10 days, with everything that's happened. And of course, that goes without saying. But I think, and Muhammad Hamal goes, summer of madness. As he goes, summer of madness indeed. I did say it was going to be a summer of madness. And it seems like that's what it's like going to be. And before we finish this all, let's touch up on, Harry mentions Chiesa stays now backup striker, and I'm all for that. I'm all for Federico staying. We simply can't let everybody leave. And his versatility, he can play in every position. I know I mentioned that yesterday, and everybody was like, he's versatile to not play a football game. He's versatile sitting on the bench. So I think Chiesa will get a lot more minutes in this coming season, and I hope he does, because I've always loved the player. I think he's a fantastic player, fantastic talent. Obviously, a lot's happened with his injury. He struggled by getting fit at the start of last season. The physicality was an issue as well, the Premier League. But now, being here a year, we only signed him for, was it 12, 13 million pounds? Sometimes, it takes a year to bed in the Premier League. And with everything that's happening right now, if we do signing one forward in Isak, it'll be a good player to have as a backup who's versatile, can play all across the front 3. So I would be happy for Federico Chiesa to stay at this football club. 100%. I would be happy for him to stay. Caden, I'll put a message. He goes, Rodrygo or Gordon Jean. Look, I'm a massive Gordon fan. Huge fan of Anthony Gordon. But when I looked at Rodrygo start on the left-hand side, I think I would go Rodrygo. Even though I really adore Anthony Gordon, I think he would bang at Liverpool. I genuinely believe he would bang at Liverpool, but I think Rodrygo's the one if we could bring him in. And people mentioned, John O'Gore's Gordon one good season. That scares me about him. Look, Anthony Gordon, if we look at Luis Diaz, for example, 3.5 years at this football club, one real good season, if we're honest with each other, one real good season. And that was his last season. That's the season that just gone. And even then, he went through a bit of a drought. I think he had one goal in 18. But I'm okay with what's going to happen. If we get Gordon, I'm happy. If we sign Rodrygo, I'm happy. These two I'd be happy with. I know people might not be big, massive Gordon fans, but I just think he bangs Liverpool. And if there's one thing that Liverpool lack in the forward line is, especially from our wingers, is elite pace. We need pace in our winger, whoever we sign. And I mentioned it many a times that if you don't have pace, there's times we struggle. Salah's not the same in terms of pace. Cody Gakpo's not the quickest. Obviously, back then we had Jota and Nunes, who wasn't, even though Nunes possesses pace, he wasn't really. We needed a winger who had pace. We didn't really have it. That's why it's imperative that Liverpool, whoever they sign, is a player that's blessed with pace. And I believe Anthony Gordon has that pace. He can go in on the inside and out. And I want to see that with the Liverpool player, somebody that we bring in. And look, we all know we were really close to signing him last year. His heart was set on joining Liverpool. He's a boyhood fan, Scouser, all the things, and I think he'd walk through walls to play for this football club. And yeah, let's wait and see what happens, because it's an interesting time. We've got a lot to do, but I trust Edwards, I trust Hughes. The way they've gone about their business, the way they've handled everything this season's been immaculate, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and who Liverpool go for. Somebody put up a tweet, and I don't know how true this is. Where's it gone now? Breaking about MHS. You better not be chatting shit, mate. Frankfurt rejected an offer from Newcastle. Not sure. Oh yeah, sorry. Pletty goal. I'll put it up now. I've understood to have rejected a written offer from Newcastle this morning worth 80 million euros, mainly due to the payment terms. Okay, so it was 100 million euros for Ekatike a month ago. Now it's 80 million euros, and it's due to the payment terms. Okay, interesting, because now we know, Liverpool know what the fee is for Ekatike, because Newcastle have gone out there and made the offer. If Ekatike was our number 2 choice and it's 80 million euros and it's down to payment terms, Liverpool really want a player. Liverpool really want Ekatike as your second choice, and we need a number 9. Do you really believe Liverpool would allow Newcastle to just come and say, okay, we're going to take your number 2 player that you want? No chance, man. I simply don't accept that. I simply do not accept that Liverpool will allow that to happen, especially when we really, really need a number 9. So let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait and see what happens, especially over the next 48 hours. This bid's been rejected. And we'll have to wait and see. If it gets accepted and Liverpool don't make a play for Ekatike, Newcastle, brace yourselves, mate, because we're coming and we're going to come with a bid that you're going to have to look at. And if Isak wants us, then it'll be interesting to see what happens. But guys, there's still nearly 380 of you on here on our daily transfer chat. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. We will be going tonight. Me, Avi, and Asim will be going tonight around our standard time of 10:30. So, guys, we will definitely join you then. But brace yourselves, guys, because it's going to be, we called it a summer of madness. And so far, it's been, it's going to carry on. This is going to carry on until the end. And there's going to be a massive, massive transfer win. This is probably going to be the biggest transfer window that I can remember, if I'm honest, with when you look around at the players that still need to come in, that still need to be sold. This is probably the biggest transfer window in my lifetime. So let's wait and see what happens. Big up to everyone, especially the chat. You've been great as always. And I will see all of you guys tonight at 10:30. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.